Number one, we only have sex with each other. Seems simple, but a lot of people have a hard time doing that. We have the sex, one peen, one vagine. Okay? Open, close, that's it. Peens can go in multiple vagines, but generally that has a negative impact on marriage. Okay? Vagines can accept multiple peens, again, tends to have a negative impact on your marriage. I know that seems simple to not have sex with other people, but people be doing the sex with the others. And I'm not finna do the sex with nobody that I don't have the covenant. See, I got the covenant. You got one peen, you got one vagine. And then you got one dream. Okay? Number two, we don't watch shows on Netflix ahead of each other that we agreed to watch together. This is a new one, but this is how you build trust. Okay? We supposed to watch Power together. We were both traveling yesterday and Saturday, couldn't watch Power. My wife came home. She didn't watch it without me. I was in the hotel waiting for my flight. I didn't watch it without her. Okay? This is trust. This is quality time. This is a shared moment with one another. You don't want to be faking like you ain't seen the episode when you see me like, whoa, what happened? What? Okay? If y'all agree y'all gonna watch Luke Cage together, then come hell or high water, y'all watch it together. All right? I made this mistake before on, what did I watch? I watched the rest of Underground without my wife. Legit argument. Next to cheating, that's the next biggest way to break trust. You went ahead? You went ahead? I mean, wow. I thought I could trust you. And I don't even know who you are anymore. I don't even know who you are. Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. Number three, we're not expecting perfect versions of our partners. 80-20 rule in full effect. There's some things about my wife there's something about me that my wife doesn't like. She has accepted that she will take me with those flaws and all. And the same things for her. Okay? A lot of times we're like, man, if you could just do this one thing. Now, you don't want to wait and put aside all the great things that they do for a little thing. Like, for instance, I always forget to close my drawers. It's a little thing, but it bothers her. Okay? I always forget to close my drawers. Okay? Now, maybe she can find another husband that closes drawers. I don't even like the way that came out. But there's so much other stuff that I do right. She's willing to accept certain things about me. I be throwing my clothes on the side of it. I be throwing my clothes on the ground next to the laundry basket. I don't know why. I could put them in there. For some reason, I like to take my clothes off after a long day and leave them on the floor. It is relieving and refreshing. Okay? And for whatever reason, I don't feel like putting them in the laundry. And she just is just like, years of it, she's just like, I don't understand why you do that, but whatever. Eventually, I pick them up sometimes. And the same way with her, I'm not going to share none of her flaws with y'all because y'all don't need to know her business. I put myself out there like that. But I told myself, man, there probably is another woman who does this one thing or does this other thing. But I'm not finna throw away the whole thing. I like to use the analogy of, a great quarterback, okay? Say Tom Brady. Although I don't like him, I respect his greatness. He's a really great quarterback, but he's not Michael Vick with the feet, okay? Now, would you, if you had Tom Brady, throw him away for all his goodness because Michael Vick is faster? Well, no, because when it comes down to it, all his other skills outweigh that one thing he lacks. But sometimes in marriage, we do that exact thing. I'm going to throw away the whole thing because this one person does all that. Well, yeah, but there's reading defenses, there's not throwing interceptions, there's leadership, there's all these other things that this guy does well. Yeah, but this guy's fast. There you go. Same thing with your marriage. I'm willing to accept that certain things about her will not change ever, and I accept those. I don't try to change certain. I just look, I love them, and I'm just going to accept those as they are. Okay? Number 4, our kids are not our first priority. Our marriage is. Okay? A lot of times people, but for the kids are a temporary part of living with you. 18 to 25 years. Hopefully you're supposed to be married till you die. Them kids gonna leave. I know that's a hot take, I know. But my kids gonna leave. It is not my responsibility to marry my kids. It's to stay married to my wife. I'm always gonna be my kid's father. I may not always be my wife's husband. All right? Now I'm trying to make sure I'm my wife's husband all the time. I'm always gonna be their doggone daddy. I know that. Always gonna be their daddy. Sometimes my kids want to play with me, and I have a certain amount of time. I came up from work, it's 8 to 9 o'clock before everybody goes to bed. I haven't spent no time with my wife. My kids are like, Daddy, can you play with me? And I have to tell them, hey, not today, not now. I've got to spend some time with mommy. I'm not even talking about sex. I'm just talking about spending some time with her. And they understand. I spend time with my kids as well. If I'm home earlier, I give everybody a little piece of me. But if it comes down to it, I got to save room for her and her only, and not her last. Not always gonna be the kids first and her last. No, that's why I take vacations without my kids. That's why we go on date night. Them kids gonna be all right. They gonna grow up. They gonna leave. She gonna stay. A lot of times people they're great parents for their kids. They're not great couples for each other, and they get into mom mode and dad mode. And then when it comes to be husband and wife, and those roles are gone, kids are gone, soccer practice is over, they can drive themselves to marriage. Drive themselves to practice or high school. They don't need no help with their homework. They got friends. Then it's like, well, who are you? I ain't talked to you since 2005 when the boys were young. Well, can't do that. Can't do that. I always try to make time to take a family vacation and a solo vacation with just us. I like take my kids. We take our kids on more vacations than we go alone. We take them on almost all of them, but we always make time to go without them. Europe was for us, ain't for them stinking kids. They ain't gonna appreciate the architecture, and the Mona Lisa know it. Y'all go to Legoland and do stuff for y'all. Okay? The next thing, get your finances together. That doesn't mean you have to be rich. Me and Melissa are not rich, and for the majority of our marriage, didn't have a lot of, disposable income. But we covered our bills, our credit cards, our finances, our credit. You would be surprised at how much damage finance does on your marriage. When you're constantly frustrated over your bills and stuff, that spills over into your marriage. So make sure to handle your stuff. Ain't nobody trying to have sex when the rent's 5 days behind and you got eviction notice. You can't be horny and homeless. They don't go together. Can't focus on no sexing when the light bill's off. Like, no, I don't want it to be dark all the time. I want to be able to cut the light off, not have it off. Okay? So get your finances together. Everything else falls in place. That's one less thing to worry about. Okay? Now, here's another reason. I don't know what number I'm on, Angelica, so help me out. A lot of times, people are getting married to people that are not physically responsible, and then being surprised that once they're married, they're not physically responsible. Well, if they had terrible credit and whatever, don't pay their bills, are always behind, that ain't no magic turn on when you get married. And that's another reason too. Don't expect marriage to cure all your ills. You married that person, that don't change them. They still all are who they are. Don't expect getting married is gonna change that person. Oh, we're married now, let's flip it on. They gonna automatically do this right, do that right. No. That ain't how it works. Them things take time. I have this rule. Don't marry somebody expecting them to change, and don't marry somebody expecting them to stay the same. That's probably 2 more reasons. Okay? Some things about them will change. A lot of things will change. Generally, people want to change for the better and for their spouse. But some things about people will take more time, and some will never change. And you got to accept the whole thing. That's another thing. This relationship goals thing, here's my next reason, Angelica, if you're still with me. These things take time. See, y'all are seeing our marriage after 13 years and 17 years together. And y'all, people be comparing their newlywed relationship to what we've been had. This is time. All of this that you see, all this wisdom that I have or we have comes from time, not None of this stuff was automatic. It was learned experience. It was going through some stuff. It was me messing up, her messing up, all that time, and learning from the mistakes, not just continue to make the same mistakes over and over. It's time, and time well spent. So don't expect it to be, oh wow, you did this and now it's perfect. No, we almost 20 years into this relationship. You think I knew about Netflix and chill early on? You think I've been perfect this whole time? No. Ain't been. Next reason. Learn and speak their love language. I admonish every couple seriously dating or married at any point in your marriage, if you have not read 5 Love Language, read it. It teaches you how your spouse or spouse-to-be wants to be loved, and then teaches you how to love them. Or not how to love them, but teaches them the ways that they accept and identify love. That's not the word I'm looking for. I don't know if it's appreciate, whatever the word is. It's like, the example in the book is if you speak English and the other person speaks Chinese and you want to learn them, you can't just keep speaking English at them. You got to learn Chinese and then speak that to them. And that's the equivalent of learning their love language. When I was young and married, I went to marriage counseling. My pastor was like, if you want to treat your wife right, have her happy all the time, buy her gifts. So I was like, okay, cool. I bought her gifts, didn't spend time with her, didn't do acts of service, which are her true love languages. But I was doing what my pastor's wife's love language was and wondering why it wasn't working for my wife. Like, I'm buying you stuff, why ain't it working? Well, you're not doing what is important to her, your wife. You're doing what's important to the pastor's wife. Once I read that book, I was like, oh, that's her love language. I can't speak my first lady's love language to my wife. I got to speak my wife's love language. And my wife is not a gifts person. She's a quality time person and acts of service, and mostly quality time. So I cannot buy her nothing for the whole year, but if I spend the majority of my time with her, she'll be happy. Now, I still do buy her gifts, but all of that is secondary to quality time, which is more important to her. So that's another reason you can't be living your marriage for other people. Everybody got advice. Everybody has their thing about how it should work and all that, and it's all good. But you have to do what works for your marriage. Take as much information in, process it, but apply it to your marriage. Don't just blanketly apply other people's advice to your marriage. Know your spouse. I used to do this thing, again, with my pastor or somebody else. Well, pastor does this and does that. And my wife used to say, but I'm not married to pastor. I'm married to you. So I don't care what he does with his wife. I care what you do with me. All right? The book is The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Changed our marriage. Read it early on. My aunt gave it to me. It was fantastic. Okay? I don't know what reason I'm on. I'm trying to think of some more. Oh my gosh. God. Okay, y'all might not be saved, y'all might not be Christians or whatever, but I am. And I can't act like God ain't one of the reasons why we are having a good marriage. We both are under the same principles, believing the same principles, and applying them to our marriage. So take that with a grain of salt, because I can't tell you that if you ain't Christian how, I don't know, whatever your religion may be, how to do that. But I know that Jesus died on the cross for me. We're basing our relationship and our marriage off the same religious principles and applying them and understanding that we're both working under those same ideologies. Keep folks out of your business. Listen, especially your family. Your family loves you. They accept your spouse. They may grow to love your spouse, but if it comes down to it and it's one or the other, they're going to take you. So you go blabbering to your mama, oh, listen, don't do this, listen, don't do that, and listen, this and this. Now your mom don't like them, your dad don't like them, and then y'all get over it and she's still holding a grudge. Next thing you know, sometimes your family is poisoning the water. Okay? Sometimes you have to make a decision for your marriage that your family might not appreciate, but you got to do what's right for your marriage first. For example, my family, very close. We want to get together on holidays. When we were young, me and Melissa didn't have the money. They wanted us to come for Thanksgiving or Christmas, I can't remember. And we had 2 young children, lived in Washington, and we could not make it. And I told my grandma, she was like, well, if you don't do this, we're going to be mad. My mom, we're going to be mad if you do this. And I said, look, if one woman's going to be mad at me, it ain't going to be the one I sleep in the bed with. You hear me? It ain't going to be the one that I sleep in the bed with. Grandma, you live in El Paso. Ma, you live in North Carolina. Y'all going to be mad? Y'all don't live here. The one that can be mad at me and lives in the bed, I'm trying to make her happy. I didn't get married to mama, grandma, dad, brother, sister. I got married to Lissa. Leaving Clee. You got to make your decisions as a couple. Don't be telling your family, well, you know I would, but it's Lissa. Don't do that. Don't put them against your spouse. Well, you know I would. I'd love to come, but I can't convince my wife. No. Hey, we've talked about it. We have decided we're not going to be able to make it this year. We talked about it. We have decided we will be able to make it this year. We're a team. Okay? Don't let people split you up. Not even the kids. Kids try. Well, mama said, well, daddy said, let us talk to each other. We have decided. We're one. Even if y'all don't agree in unison, y'all got to compromise. You really wanted to do it. They really want to do it. But y'all agree. Then when y'all go out into the world, we have made this decision. Okay? This is our decision, and we have made this decision, and this is what we're going to do. Hate it or love it, this is what we decided. We are a united front. Don't play yourself. Don't play your spouse like that. Don't leave them out there hanging to dry so you look like the good person to your family. Take that bullet for your marriage so people understand, look, man, you got to convince both of them. Okay, I'm trying to convince my wife to come to Charlotte with me this weekend. Jay working on it and all. But if we decide we ain't going, it ain't going to be like, man, I want her to come, she want to come. No, we talked about it. We couldn't do it. Don't throw your wife or your husband under the bus like that. What else? Listen, one of the biggest things, this is not in the order, but I married my friend. This is one of the reasons why we're still married. Melissa was my best friend before we got married and still is my best friend today. We moved to LA with no friends or no family here, and we made it and still making it because we are friends. Okay? We are friends first. We didn't get married because we had kids. We didn't get married to cut in on the rent. We didn't get married for none of those reasons. We got married because we loved each other and we couldn't imagine life without one another. We hadn't had sex, which are all reasons. I'm probably over 13 if you count them all together. These are all fantastic reasons that these are all reasons that people get married. Well, the rent was high. I got a kid or 2. We already been together. You know, we've been together for a long time already. You might as well. Don't have no might as well marry. We might as well. Well, you might as well get divorced too. That ain't no logic. I marry you because I can't imagine life without you. And that's why we're getting married. And that's why we're still together. This is before KevOnStage. This is Kevin Fredericks. At the time we got married, I worked at a daycare. A daycare. With a little bit over minimum wage. Wasn't no KevOnStage, wasn't no fans, no followers, wasn't even no Facebook when we got married. Just me and you. And at the end, if I lost it all, something I did, or I ain't funny no more, lost all my fans, or social media falls out, I ain't funny, stand-up is gone, kids moved out. If I lost it all but was still good to her, I would still have it all. Oh! Because she is everything. The best decision I made in life after giving my life to Christ was Melissa accepting me as her husband. I don't get confused between people being a fan of mine and my marriage. I'm not putting no stock in all that. All that could be gone. Take a look at Sinbad. Sinbad in the 90s, on fire. And I love Sinbad. This is not shade. He had movies, he had TV show, he had cartoons, he had stand-up, he had money left and right. Okay? Then, nothing. Absolutely nothing. That can happen to me. I could be driving Uber. If I was an Uber driver she would still support me as long as I worked hard and could help, pay the bills. If that's all my lot in life was to be an Uber driver or to work at Target or work at Boeing or whatever, she's never been engulfed with money or stand-up or fame or none of that stuff. When we had no money in Paris, we couldn't even afford a passport, much less a trip to Paris. We've been married 13 years. We just went to Europe for the first time. That's a lot of time that she had to endure. Little trips to the beach near our house in Washington, little trips to San Diego, stand-up little vacations here and there. She endured a lot of that. So when we went to Paris, I blew a bag. I blew a bag when it was time to go to Paris. She deserved it. But see, you can't get with somebody who wants Paris first, but don't put the time in to deserve no Paris. See, that's what them Instagram models want. Well, why don't you take me here to Dubai? You ain't spent no Dubai. You ain't got enough time in to deserve no Dubai. You got to appreciate a weekend at the park. When we was young and married, it was a lot of picnics, you can see my Facebook, a lot of baseball games, a lot of days at the beach, days at the park. That's all we could afford. We couldn't afford to go out of town. Took our kids to the zoo, to a Mariners game, to a minor league game. We did all the little stuff. Little beach by where you live, hikes, taking a walk, all that stuff. And when we finally had the money to go to Europe, then we went to Europe. I'm talking about did everything I wanted to do. Spent money. I'm not bragging. This is not bragging, although it may come off like that. Order room service 3 times in one night because we didn't like the food. This was the vacation of all vacations. And celebrate your marriage. You don't have to have a lot of money to celebrate your marriage or your anniversary. You don't have to have a lot of money for dates. It's all about spending time with the person you love. We celebrate each other every year. We just, some anniversary dinners, I made it for her, she made it for me. It was Red Robin. Now we can afford to go to, the expensive restaurants and all that type of stuff. But the point is our marriage wasn't built on that. See, y'all want to build your relationships off whipped cream and cherries, but the cake is the foundation. Everybody sees the whipped cream and cherries and the candles, but none of that stuff could stand if there wasn't no cake. The cake is the foundation. We got a triple layered cake, sturdy foundation. Get your foundation right, then you can decorate. Y'all want so much decoration, but there's no foundation which to hold up the decoration. And the whipped cream just gonna fall apart. The icing cannot stand without the cake. Build up the foundation first before you get to decorating. Don't worry about the grams. And that your relationship is good, that you got all frosting, no foundation. You hear me what I said? I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you. Get the foundation right. If I lost my job, if I lost everything and I was just working minimum wage, we had to move back or move somewhere, moving with my parents, whatever. As long as we got each other, we're going to be all right. Of course, we want a house on the hill. We want to make it and all that stuff. And that is my goal and that is my intention. But not at the expense of my marriage. If there's only a certain height I can ever reach in fame and wealth that will still keep my family, then that's as far as I ever go. As much as I respect Kevin Hart and his ability and his everything, I would not trade my wife for fame or wealth. I'm talking $80 million. I don't want no new wife. I don't want to learn nothing new about a new person. I'm not going to start all over. I appreciate, everything. You might have a nice body and tall and short or thick or whatever. You could have all that stuff. That's not enough. Because my wife, I know, this is what I tell the truth. If I got in a car accident and lost my ability to drive or to perform, there was no more money coming in, I know my wife wouldn't leave me. See, all those other people who are in love with KevOnStage, it's exactly KevOnStage, the persona, not Kevin, the person. So if I lost all that stuff, Melissa wouldn't be like, well, you ain't funny now. You ain't famous, so I'm finna go. She been with me before I was funny or famous. Not saying I'm famous. I mean, I've always been funny, but where other people were tripping. She been with me when I worked minimum wage. She didn't come to me because of the money. I spit all over myself. That's what I'm worried about. If I got in a fire and my face was burned off, is she gonna leave me? She ain't. And I wouldn't leave her. That's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about no booty on the sink. There's plenty of booty on the sink girls. But who gonna pick out my ingrown hairs? Y'all think I'm joking about that. The back of my head was atrocious on Friday. I'm talking about ridiculous. She sat there in that hotel on 2 occasions and doggone picked ingrown hairs out and told me to put tea tree oil and stuff like that. That ain't sexy. There ain't no glory in that. But I needed her to help me. I don't want to be leprosy boy. So I don't put the two past each other. A lot of people would be with me for what I can offer them. Melissa would be with me because of who I am. No Vicky Yogi. I hope I help somebody on today. It is our anniversary. I'm as in love and more in love with this woman today than any other day. Huh? 13 years of wedded bliss. 13 years. And we thank you, big God, for what you've done. All right, may the Lord God bless you. God keep you. We'll see you at the conference.